Which would you prefer, a kiss or money? Good evening and happy Halloween, everyone. This is Stone Gasman live from New York City. Now, I'm not expecting a large turnout tonight because everybody is probably off during their Halloween festivities and all that. Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to sit here and watch a couple movies and comment on them. And the first one we are going to do is Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. And this commentary will include a review of this 2017 Blu-ray, courtesy of Arrow Video, which has a lot of good stuff to talk about in terms of the special edition and the extras and everything. So we're going to be talking all about that. And also talking about the movie because process of discovery. Before we get started, before we officially press play, hey, Luke, how you doing tonight? Happy Halloween. I'm excited for our spooky double feature tonight. Awesome. I'm glad I'm not going to be alone. I'm glad I'm not going to be alone because, look, I'm sure everybody else in the world is, doing something with their kids or whatnot, which is completely understandable. But I don't have any kids, so guess what? I'm going to do a couple of audio commentaries. Why not? And and obviously doing a couple of films that are obviously not for kids, decidedly enough. But okay, so the first one we're doing is Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. I probably shouldn't be doing this movie. In other words, the thing is that when I first read about this movie, I'd never seen it before. Now, I had seen Lucio Fulci movies in the past. In fact, I've seen at least 10 of them. So I did feel at least that I was comfortable enough to get through this. But to be perfectly honest, if it wasn't for this Blu-ray and all the bonus features on this Blu-ray, it would be impossible for me to get through this commentary. It would be impossible. This was this was an eye-opening experience in so many ways. It's been regarded by some as Lucio Fulci's masterpiece. I can't quite say it's my favorite of the films that I've seen of his so far, but man, I was admittedly blown away by this experience watching Don't Torture a Duckling, and this is the Halloween, of course, I will never forget in many ways. Now, later tonight at 11:30 p.m., we're going to be doing a commentary for Haxon. Yes, I have pushed it off for another half hour, just because there's a couple other things I need to look up before we start that. But pretty much for the next 2 hours, we're going to be watching Don't Torture a Duckling. So, we're going to start, just to let everybody know, the way this commentary is going to be more or less handled is that I'm going to start about my journey in terms of discovering Lucio Fulci. I think that's actually very important. And then, like I said, we'll talk about the characters and the actors and the themes and everything. And like I said, a lot to talk about. Yes. So, tell you what, everybody, I am paused on the opening shot. I don't know where else this is streaming. I probably should have double checked that, but I am watching the Arrow Blu-ray, obviously. But just to do a quick double check, it says it's plays on Vudu for free if you have a premium subscription to. Oh, it's not available on Amazon. It's not. You can rent it from YouTube for. Yeah, you can rent it from YouTube for $2. Actually, yeah. Let me do that. Let me just put this here. Might as well do this right to prepare for everybody. Yeah, you can rent it on YouTube for only $2. You can get it for $2. I think that's actually very reasonable. I actually think, and not to say that the movie is on that level or quality. No, absolutely not. I say that's a deal. Pay $2 to see it. Watch it with me, and because, like I said, I'm going to have a lot to say, and my feelings about this movie like changed over the course of separate viewings, and it's really been quite a journey for me in terms of discovering Lucio Fulci. I'm going to be doing more Lucio Fulci movies in the future. That's what I'm saying, is that I'm only going to be talking about basically one segment of his filmography, basically his early years, because that's where I have the most experience when it comes to Fulci. But at the same time, I mean, if it wasn't for this Arrow Blu-ray, and if it wasn't for swimming through all those extra features, I'm telling you right now, I would be so lost doing this. But this is going to be incredible. But anyway, I'm leaving that up there. You can rent it for $2 on YouTube, and let's go ahead and press play, shall we? So on the count of 3, 2, 1, and play. And here we start Lucio Fulci's Don't Torture a Duckling. And we open up on the Florinda Bolkan, Barbara Bouchet. We're going to talk about all of these actors. Tomas Milien. Yes, all great actors in this movie, all great performances. Irene Papas, who just sadly just passed away very recently. In fact, she passed away last month. And I'd like to dedicate this commentary to her and her legacy. And we'll talk more about her, obviously, when she pops up in the story, but I'm going to be dedicating this commentary to the late Irene Papas. Now, immediately we open up on something very sinister going on. We can tell from the music. And, you know, I've seen Zombie 2 a number of times before this, so I knew what to expect when it came to Lucio Fulci and Dirt. And, of course, that music riff that comes in. It's, it's very uncomfortable, very disturbing. And we see this woman just, digging up some bones, and automatically we're dropped into this very seriously eerie and icky situation and location. We don't know exactly where we are, but we're focusing on this woman's face, and she's picking up these bones. And look at that background. Look at that landscape right there. That is absolutely breathtaking. See, that's the thing. You see something sinister go on at this little tiny portion of this huge, massive landscape. It is wonderful. This was a wonderful way to open up Don't Torture a Duckling. And we then see a young boy here looking at, the traffic and going through the tunnels and everything. In the bonus features, they talk a lot about Lucio Fulci's depiction of modernity and how everything is different in terms of the city versus the country, because this is basically set in a very remote village in southern Italy. All the houses you see are basically carved out of the stones that are basically in this landscape. An incredible architecture feat. And then we are brought into the spooky church with the, as you can see there, well, if you saw it real quick, there was a skeleton on the wall with like a hood and everything, very, very haunting feel already as we go into Don't Torture a Duckling. See, there's the skeleton up there. It's like watching over these kids. Yeah. It's like, is this supposed to be a church? Or yeah, it's a Catholic church. It's a Catholic church. And as you can see there, all these young boys are, basically scared, or they're looking around, anxious and nervous, and like, that they're being basically forced to, pray and actually, read the Bible and do everything. And God-fearing boys, absolutely God-fearing boys, kept under, you could call religious mind control. And here we have some sassy working class ladies driving in the countryside, and they're going to be coming to this small town for one specific purpose. Oh, not town, I mean a village. Here again, a remote village, far away from civilization. Um, into the tunnels and everything. And immediately the boys are alerted at the arrival of these working class women. Uh, and as you can see, I mean, these boys, I mean, I mean, they must be bored as hell. I mean, that's all I can say. But this does bring back, I guess you could say, rather unfortunate memories of, what rebelling and, just doing, doing things like smoking cigarettes and, being horny as hell and those hormones are kicking in and everything. This is that moment in a boy's life where they're very much interested in sex, and they're seeing what they can get away with and everything. And yeah, so this is actually Fulci's detour into the depiction of childhood in this remote village. Really fat with tits like melons and an ass like this. Oh, yeah. dirty mouth little brats, aren't they? So, I mean, in case you haven't figured it out yet, the working class women are in fact prostitutes, and they're coming to this, they're coming to this remote village to get a little hanky panky with some of the men who are probably desperate for sex at this point. See, look how remote we are. This is far away from any, like legitimate town or city. This is like way out there in the Italian, in the Italian. Now, see, we've done a number of Italian films this year, which surprisingly enough, those are some of my commentaries on YouTube that have done the best, that have gotten the most views, which I'm stunned by. I mean, Tragedy of a Ridiculous Man and the Seduction of Mimi, those got really high views. And I was wondering, wait a minute, is there are people specifically interested in Italian film commentaries by amateurs like me? I don't understand that, but they've been some of my best commentaries. And when I saw this today, I was thinking, oh my God, I hit the jackpot here. This is not necessarily a quintessential Halloween movie. And I'm sure, some may be confused as to, wait a minute, what are you doing this on Halloween for? This is not necessarily, sure, it's a Fulci movie, it's a horror movie, but it's not necessarily an ideal Halloween movie. Well, like I said, we're doing Haxan later. That's an ideal Halloween movie. But for this, here again, process of discovery. The only Fulci movie that I saw in my youth, being reminded of a youth, oddly enough, right here, is that was Zombie 2. And Zombie 2 was one of those movies that I wasn't necessarily prepared for the Italian splatter. I wasn't prepared for corpses coming up out of the dirt in the ground and, coming forward and biting people's faces off and everything. I mean, I had seen Night of the Living Dead. And I don't remember if I'd seen Dawn of the Dead by that time. I saw Dawn of the Dead when I was like 15, and now it's like my favorite zombie movie. But anyway, I mean, Zombie 2 was my initiation into the world of Lucio Fulci. And I like the zombie versus the shark. There were things that I fell in love with when I first saw it when I was an early teen, about 13, 14 years old. And I was immediately taken aback by the gore, obviously. See, here we got some black magic and some dolls here, which are going to be stuck with pins, this type of old style black magic that are still inherent in these remote villages. That it's just the way it is. I mean, there's a lot of locals, there's a lot of superstition, and this is just the way it is. And this has been around for centuries. I mean, and probably the number one reason why I wouldn't want to live in a village like this. I mean, sure, the landscape is gorgeous. I mean, I'd rather live alone out there rather than live in a little village like this. I'd rather like have a hut somewhere. As long as I can watch my movies and do commentaries, hey, I'll be happy. But yeah, okay. So what is Don't Torture a Duckling about? Because it's basically about a series of child murders that happen in this small village. And there's a number of suspects. Some, some might have more clues than others. And it's really a murder mystery story. I mean, yes, there is a serial killer, basically strangling and murdering young boys in this town, but it's also about sexual awakening for the children as well. And this was a highly controversial movie for Fulci, but it was also the one that really, I would say there was one movie before this, I would say, and this is just my interpretation, that put him on the map per se, to say, okay, finally people discovered him and say, oh, we need to look out for this guy. But this was the movie that exploded his career. This was the movie that really, really was watched by a good number of people. But it wasn't really seen outside of Italy and France, oddly enough. In Italy and France, it did very, very well, but because of the subject matter, it's been limited in terms of people seeing it in the UK and the US and other places. But oh my God, did this movie get a lot of attention in its native country? It so did. Now here we have, if I know, I haven't. Yes, people are saying, "Will you shut up?" I'm too mesmerized by naked Barbara Bouchet here. Which, I mean, considering what we've seen so far, I was not expecting this young kid to bring up like orange juice for this strikingly gorgeous woman who happens to be naked on his couch. I mean, she could be a Playboy model. I mean, she's that beautiful, and like teasing him and everything. And here again, this is one of the themes of the movie is, these kids, before they meet death at the hands of the strangler, they're tempted by sins of the flesh, and this woman apparently is all for it. I mean, she's, in fact, I mean, Fulci kind of leaves it unanswered as to, how far she's willing to go with this. It's amazing when I think of, it's beautifully photographed too. I mean, the colors, the lighting, it's all brilliant stuff. Oh, I love the shadows. I love the turquoise color on the wall, and everything. And now, but this woman is actually, she's been kicked out of the city by her father, and now she's being kept in this secluded location to basically recover from a drug addiction. But she's still very, very well off, and obviously, probably has no problem getting gigs as like as a model or an actress or whatnot. But she's basically just here to basically, clean up herself and everything and chill out for a while, by order of her father. And so, of course, she takes advantage of, turning this young man on and everything. And she's doing a hell of a good job doing it. I mean, go on, run to your mommy. It's like, no, I don't want to. And the mom, I think, yelled like, 15 times before he finally decided to run. He just fell down. Now it's funny because usually if this type of thing is introduced in a movie, I mean, audiences might cringe and everything. I mean, the way Barbara Bouchet and her apartment looks, I mean, you almost can't complain. Okay, now, I mean, I would think of something like maybe like Private Lessons from 1981, which that's the ew way, and it starred a hugely beautiful woman, Sylvia Christel, who is an Emmanuel and Lady Chatterley's lover, among other things. But the point is, I mean, if you're gonna if you're going to have a scene that has a beautiful naked woman seducing a young boy on film, you got to be careful. And in fact, Lucio Fulci is as a matter of fact, he was arrested for that very scene, and he was arrested on child endangerment grounds because of the infamous scene where a fully nude Patrizia flirts with an underage boy. The charges were dropped when Fulci explained that the actors' close-ups were filmed separately. The shot of the boy walking towards, and I should have pointed this out, I apologize, but the shot of the boy walking towards her with a pitcher and glass of orange juice was done using an adult dwarf stand-in. So if you look carefully in that scene, yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people are, I'm sure. I mean, if I was a teenager and I had watched this movie for the first time, I'd probably be rewinding to that scene over and over again. But anyway, I'm not throwing that out there. I had to. But if you notice that the double has a different facial structure to the actor, and in fact, that is an adult dwarf. So he was able to get away with it in terms of, how to shoot it and how to take care of it and everything without really doing anything criminal on set. He gets away with it. He gets around it. And I think it works. I'm not complaining about that scene one iota, but of course, it's still, it's still. But here again, we don't know how far Boucher's character was willing to go with it. She could have been teasing him the entire time. It's just the truth. Now we're being introduced to many different characters here, and I'm going to get to them soon. But I still need to explain my journey as to how I came upon this movie, because here again, I probably shouldn't be doing this tonight on Halloween night, unless I had, the proper tunnels in terms of, in terms of discovering Fulci's filmography, because, well, I've been part of a podcast for a number of years. Region Free used to be called The Sausage Factory. All their videos are online. I mean, awesome crew of people. I love those guys. And a few years ago, they had basically where we would do like a Lucio Fulci retrospective, where we watch a lot of his films and talk about all his films, and we make it all about the discussion about Lucio Fulci. And I had to do my homework. I had to do some education and do some homework on his career. But here's the funny thing. I was able to watch one of his spaghetti westerns, two of his comedies, all from his early years. I also saw his first Giallo, his very first Giallo, which I really, really liked. And I also saw his most controversial movie, which is probably the New York Ripper, which is a very, very hard movie to watch, needless to say. I could mention that a little bit later. But I wasn't able to watch everything. I still wasn't able to. One moment. I mean, there's still a few key movies in Lucio Fulci's filmography that I have yet to check out, like The Black Cat, City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and The House by the Cemetery. And I would also throw in there A Lizard in a Woman's Skin and The Eroticist, as well as probably... Yeah, I mean, a lot of his later films, of course, were hurt by very low budgets and everything. And of course, unlike this film right here and those later films, he felt like he had to cut corners. No, I mean, here it feels like he was very patient, very much in the zone. He knew exactly what story he was telling, and he knew exactly how to tell it. And of course, he had funding. He had a good amount of money to work with and play with. So, so it worked out very well in his favor here. And here again, a lot of people consider this his masterpiece. But I talked on that retrospective. I was able to talk about as much as I could talk about because I felt I still had limited knowledge of Lucio Fulci, and I'd only touched the surface. But like I said, I saw some of his earlier jukebox movies, musicals. He started out doing jukebox musicals, and I checked out a couple of those. I thought, well, these were kind of fun in a very dated fashion, of course. I mean, for disposable 1950s uh, uh, musicals about young people, they were actually kind of fun. I mean, uh, the first of them was probably, well, technically his first movie as a director was The Thieves in 1959, but the ones I saw were The Jukebox Kids, 1959, as well as Howlers in the Dock. Okay, yeah. So, and just to give you an idea of what my initial reactions were to both of those films, I'm going to read to you my own Twitter reviews. And trust me, we are going to be talking about all these actors. I mean, this movie, it's not very long, but I mean, like I said, I mean, I have just enough material, I think, to fill this whole commentary. Yeah. Well, actually, I'll just read this one. This is on Howlers of the Dock, 1960. More musicarello nonsense from Fulci's summer team, only now with even less plot than 59's Jukebox Kids. Blue Jeans Company think their product is being turned into, quote, symbol of sin and hooliganism because of these, quote, teddy bears and rock and roll chicks. So that is, in fact, where Fulci decided to dip his toe in terms of genre first, where these American Graffiti like hot rod movies of the 50s, where these kids were just dancing and rocking and uh, doing everything you could imagine that could make parents freak out. That's where Lucio Fulci got his start, with these jukebox musicals. And you know what? They're kind of fun. If you jump in there with the right historical perspective and context, they are actually kind of fun movies. I mean, I gave Howlers of the Dock like a 3.5 out of 5. And but then later, I watched a couple of his comedies. Which had a famous comedy duo in Italy that he worked with, Franco Franchi and Ciccio Ingrassia. And these guys made a number of comedies together, Fulci and both of these guys. And I've seen a couple of them. Honestly, I wasn't all that impressed with either one. I didn't find any of them particularly all that funny. But here again, it's that difficulty of Italian humor, or from any other European country, just not translating well to American audiences. I mean, if I was in Italy in the 1960s, I would probably be laughing my ass off. Like if I was in England, I'd probably be watching the Carry On movies, and those would fall under the same arena. But so, but I did watch. Yeah, I watched How We Robbed the Bank of Italy. Which, if that sounds like a lot of fun, let me just hear. 1966 film, Italian comedy duo Franco and Ciccio's ninth collaboration with writer-director Fulci, again playing genuine idiots who attempt title before their brother, known as the Master. Sporadically funny, yet elevated by a lively Lalo Gori score. Look, they were amusing in a mild way. I mean, I wasn't necessarily bored by them, but I didn't find them just particularly funny. That's the thing. And what's the other comedy I saw? It was I forget. I did see another one of his comedies with those guys in it. But the movie that actually made me fall in love with Fulci was actually One on Top of the Other. That was the movie. This was it was his very first giallo, and it was also his personal tribute to Alfred Hitchcock. Now, I'm going to pause on that because I'm going to come back to On Top of the Other, but I should start mentioning some of these cast members here. And this actor in particular is most noteworthy, the priest who has a shelter in town where a lot of the young boys go. And here again with the mob, the riots, it's all starting. Yeah, because they think that this guy is guilty. Let me just say real quick. I know I'm jumping around. I am so sorry. But let me just say real quick that I've seen plenty of true stories like on Unsolved Mysteries and the like, where, police, when they're eager to catch a suspect or just close the case or whatever the case may be, they always go for, somebody that is not, that is mentally challenged, that can't really defend himself all that well. And he was just like the easiest target. And it sort of bubbled up that there was some lame ass kidnapping scheme that got created and everything. But this is just sad. I mean, this is just really sad to have the entire town think that you're guilty of murdering a boy. And, and you're innocent, and that these charges are trumped up, that cops are just trying to, put somebody in to appease the town and all its anger and frustration and rage. You can kind of understand that. See, Cliff, nice to see you tonight. They played Zombie 2 and The Beyond tonight at select theaters around the country. Oh, wonderful. See, those are, I guess, more appropriate Fulci choices if you're going to watch on Halloween. I mean, this just happened to be the one that came out in 1972. And, of course, I read the amazing positive reviews that it got. So I thought, well, and originally I was going to do Tam Lin tonight, but that ended up being last night because, they're both movies produced by Alan Ladd Jr., and they eventually got butchered by AIP and had their titles changed. So those belong together in a double feature. This, on the other hand, was kind of floating around. And here again, I didn't expect to do this movie. I mean, I think I even took it off the list for a while, and I was just kind of like, no, I don't think I can handle this one. Not because of the subject matter, but merely because I just didn't think I would be able to talk about a Lucio Fulci movie. I mean, considering the fact I felt I had so much inexperience. But then that's where we get to One on Top of the Other. This was Fulci's first giallo, his tribute to Vertigo. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. And it's considering the fact I had so little experience with gialli, I think this was a hell of a great introduction to it, if anything. But it's a film that he made in 1969. It was 3 years before Don't Torture a Duckling, which is about a man, an unscrupulous San Franciscan doctor, who is suspected of orchestrating the death of his asthmatic wife, Susan, as part of an insurance scam, despite her seeming reemergence as Monica Weston, a high-class stripper. It was filmed on location in several U.S. cities, including a scene filmed in St. Quentin State Prison's gas chamber. Yep. The film went on to gross 869 Italian million lire and has been cited as a thematic precursor to later films such as Basic Instinct and Body of Evidence. Excuse me. Happy Halloween, Jamie. Always lovely to see you. Just to let everybody know, we're watching, we are the timestamp of 28 minutes and 30 seconds. We are 28 minutes and 30 seconds into Don't Torture a Duckling. And this movie is a great choice tonight. Oh, thank you, Cliff. Thank you. But I didn't know if I was going to do this or Tamlin or even Sisters on Halloween night. So ultimately, it boiled down to Don't Torture a Duckling, which I'm so happy that this is the choice, because this was, here again, another amazing discovery from the year of 1972. I'll throw out there, though, is this my favorite horror of 72? I don't know. I really love Deathline. Deathline last night was, I fell in love with that movie from the start, and in a different way than this one. I really do think this is a strong movie. I think it's a powerful movie. I think that the use of gore is exquisite. It's rough, but it's also exquisite. But it's not. There's not as much gore as as there are in the movies that Fulci is most controversial for, like like New York Ripper and Zombie 2, and all those other films that sadly I still need to watch. His most grisly ones, because he went much further than the Don't Torture a Duckling. A decade later in the 1980s, he went way further than this. But this was still controversial stuff. In 1972, very taboo to have somebody go around and just murdering children. But let's start. Let's now get to some of these actors here, because So the young man on the right, the priest here, he actually passed away at the age of 34 due to meningitis. Let's go ahead and start with him. Yeah, this is Mark Perel. He was born in 1949 and died in 1983. He died in Morocco at the age of 34. He was a Swiss-born French film actor. He appeared in 40 films between 1967 and 1983. Now, and as the lovely Troy Howarth, author of So Deadly, So Perverse, 50 Years of Italian Giallo Films, that let's just say that Mark Perel was not the easiest one to work with. And later on, he became kind of in the way and a nuisance on one of Fulci's later films. But here we have the beautiful Barbara Bouchet making a huge impression right here. The man with the mustache, who I will get to here in a minute, can't keep his eyes off her, and it seeps in. It seeps in how women are looked upon in this little village, and how how they will eventually be ultimately hurt by superstition and all that. But yeah, this is a world that's not friendly to women. It really isn't. And oh, look at that! Just look at that town. You can't. That is not a set. That is not a set. That is a real Italian village. And of course, when you get out into the hills, where there's nothing but rock and grass, and particularly at the ending, when we get to the ending, which is wonderful. You'll definitely see how gorgeously mounted this movie is, which is a shock to me, considering what Fulci is mainly known for later on in the 1980s with his other films. This is almost like something that maybe 20th Century Fox would dare do. Well, and of course, there's a character later that's used where the last thing that you would expect to pop up in a movie like this would be a Disney character, and also implied even in the title that Disney character is there. And we'll see it when we come to it. And it's one of the most shocking things I've ever seen in a movie, in any movie in my entire life. The revelation of the title is so shocking and so breathtaking how it's done. Man. And here again, we were still not sure who the killer is. Well, I mean, we meet these series of characters and we get to know them, some more than others, admittedly. I mean, we look at Barbara Boucher's life and how she's living in this village, and seducing young boys, or attempting to seduce young boys, I guess you'd say. But going back to Mark Perel, who plays the very young priest, and like I said, he's a very important character. Please don't forget about him. But he, like I said, he was born in Switzerland, and the son of Jacqueline Perel, an actress and granddaughter of Gabrielle Rian and Gerard Landry, an actor. He had 3.5 siblings, one from an affair his mother had with the singer Henry Salvador, his brother Jean-Marie Pereira, and 2 from her marriage to actor Francois Perrier, his brother Jean-Pierre, and sister Anne-Marie. He was married twice, first to French model Benedict Lacoste, with whom he had a daughter. They divorced and he remarried to Italian actress Barbara Magnolfi and had a daughter with her. Perel died in Casablanca on August 15th, 1983, of meningitis at the age of 34. At the age of 34. And like I said, don't forget about the priest, because he is that important of a character. But yeah, he died at the age of 34. And just to let everybody know who don't know what meningitis is, it's a acute or chronic inflammation of the protective membranes covering the brain and the spinal cord, collectively called the meningenes. The most common symptoms are fever, headache, neck stiffness. Other symptoms include confusion or altered consciousness, nausea, vomiting, and an inability to tolerate light or loud noises. Young children often exhibit only nonspecific symptoms, such as irritability, drowsiness, or poor feeding. A non-blanching rash may also be persistent, and it may be caused by infection with viruses, bacteria, or other microorganisms. And, unfortunately, he died at a very young age, and mostly due to the fact that he was addicted to drugs. Unfortunately, that's what ultimately killed him was drugs, leading to meningitis and his death at 34. Now, when I was watching this scene, I said to myself, you know what? This would be the worst situation I can imagine myself in, where you're in the middle of the woods, it's cold, it's raining, you're scared to death about being killed. I can't imagine a more terrifying situation than this. I mean, I'd rather be in a house with a poltergeist than deal with this. This is, I mean, put myself in a child's shoes. I mean, this is just absolutely terrifying stuff. And here we have a Jesus and a cross looming over, his arrival, which of course is going to be his death. A most ironic area for his death to take place. And like I said, these child kills are shocking. They are still shocking all these years later, and as they need to be. Good thing I lowered the volume on the TV and I don't have to listen to the scream again, because, it is earth-shaking. It is absolutely earth-shaking in this movie. Like I said, Fulci doesn't shy away. He does not shy away from the violent aspects of these crimes. Now, when we get to the death of Florinda Bolkan, however, that's when he's really going to lay on the gore and lay on, the emotion. Because, oh my God, what this woman goes through is just absolutely devastating. And it's one of the most powerful deaths I've seen in any movie ever. That's what I'm saying. That's how powerful all this is. Now, in the role of the police lieutenant here is Antonello Campa de Flori. I probably screwed that up. I'm probably going to screw half of these names up, but whatever. And he's really good. I mean, he's in it for a lot of the first half of the movie. And of course, he's coming in on the investigation. And of course, knowing that, this is a village that has black magic and voodoo and these weird spiritual practices, which would make other people look at you all it's like, well, what's wrong with you and everything. And remember, this is in a very highly Catholic community. So you go to that other side, you're definitely going to be treated with a lot of scorn and ridicule and ultimately, maybe even violence. And, it's just, these clashings of, different beliefs and different spiritualities, but that really lead to all these situations. And even though, I mean, the commentary and the bonus features argue that this is not an anti-Catholic statement on the part of Fulci, but rather, he is still criticizing the Catholic Church, because according to the author on the commentary, that he was a believer, but he had a hell of a lot of doubt, which he had to wrestle with and wrangle with his entire life and career as a filmmaker. Now, funnily enough, excuse me. Funnily enough, I mean, the only other thing that I've seen Barbara Bouchet in is probably Casino Royale, where he actually played one of the many, 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 many Bond women. And oh, actually, she played Moneypenny. Oh, yeah, I forgot. She played Moneypenny in the unofficial Bond spoof Casino Royale, which is not funny. Yes, they spent a lot of money on it, and you can see all that money on the screen, but it is a waste of time, and it's just, there's nothing funny in it. There's just nothing funny in it. And Bouchet had done like other Bond spoofs of the era, like In Harm's Way and John Goldfarb, Please Come Home, that kind of thing. One of her first films, actually, where she makes cameo appearances, all in 1964. She was a receptionist in a Jack Lemmon comedy called Good Neighbor Sam. She was also in Sex and the Single Girl with Tony Curtis, based on the book by Helen Gurley Brown, the feminist author. And she was also in What a Way to Go with Shirley MacLaine, Paul Newman, Robert Mitchum, Dean Martin, Gene Kelly, Bob Cummings, and Dick Van Dyke, where she marries about 6 men in the film. They all die, and they leave her a billionaire of a woman. She gets more and more rich every time one of her husbands dies, but they don't die from anything sinister. They just die in accidents or bad luck, or it's a comedy, and she wears a lot of, Shirley wears a lot of minks in it and everything. But yeah, Bouchet is in those type of films long before she did Don't Torture a Duckling. And then she ultimately started working with Bob Fosse, and she did Sweet Charity with Shirley MacLaine in 1969. Yeah, well, one of only 5 Bob Fosse movies that he did, and I think all 5 of them are excellent. Some are more audience friendly than others. Cabaret and all that jazz are like 2 of the most magnificent musicals ever made. But then you have Lenny and Star 80, which I'll be doing a commentary on next Sunday night, which are very difficult to watch true stories, and they feature people that actually lived and went through these horrible episodes, these haunting episodes, that ended up, they lose their lives at a very young ages and everything. And it's just, Star 80 in particular is like a cautionary tale. It's about the murder of a Playboy playmate. But like I said, we'll get to that Sunday night. Stick around for that. But going back to Barbara Bouchet, she was like I said, she was also in The Swinging Confessors. Then she started doing Gialli, excuse me, Black Belly of the Tarantula, Man with the Icy Eyes, Caliber 9. I love the titles for some of these, and I know they like to punctuate these Gialli titles with like animals and everything. But The Red Queen Kills 7 Times. Then she was also, and a lot of these films, she was more than willing to show nudity, and anything they asked of her, she did. I mean, she was more than willing to do anything and everything in front of the camera. And in 1973, she did a movie called Cry of the Prostitute, where she is basically abused and tortured and the end of part one. Yes. Yeah, this is a moment in during Don't Torture a Duckling, where if you need to get up and refill your glasses and have a cigarette or go get something to eat, now's the time. This is the point in the movie where Fulci says, yeah, get up and take a break. And here they suspect the quote unquote witch, who is related to another sorcerer in the woods, this black magic guy who basically thought that she was possessed by Satan. And of course, what happened was that they, she ended up getting pregnant, and a huge backstory for the the horrible things that happened to this woman growing up, and what led her to be living on the outskirts of this village and be treated like a witch who just dives into black magic and everything. No, she actually has a massively tragic backstory, which no woman should ever have to endure. And in this film, she ultimately is treated to one of the most gruesome deaths I've ever seen a woman endure in a movie. I mean, granted, this movie came out the same year as Last House on the Left, but for some reason, watching that in that movie, it feels, you almost just cannot watch it. In this movie, it's more about the fact where you understand that the men are not doing it for kicks. They do believe that this woman is responsible for the deaths of their sons, and like I said, it's tragedy on both sides. And I mean, Fulci had a lot to say with this movie. He had a lot to say in terms of social commentary. In it, of course, in his native Italy as well. Isn't the witch here? If you can't see her, son, that means she's not here. Yep. And okay, so this actor, if I remember correctly, Yes, the black magician in the Glen, basically. Yeah, so this is Georges Wilson playing this character. Was a French film and television actor. He was the father of French actor Lambert Wilson, who, by the way, was I talked about in detail in my commentary for 5 Days, One Summer, the Lad Company release from last week. So yeah, this is his father. He was born in Seine as the illegitimate son of a French father and an Irish mother. His professional surname Wilson derives from the Irish grandmother. His birth name has not been made public. He was nominated for a BAFTA Film Award, also nominated for a Caesar Award. His last film was Mesrine, Public Enemy Number 1. From 1963 to 1972, the year that Don't Torture a Duckling came out in September of 1972. George Wilson was the director of the Theatre National de Chalet, formerly known as the Theatre National Populaire. He died of Rambouillet in 2010, aged 88, from undisclosed causes. And he was in a number of films from the late 40s and into the 50s, like The Red and the Black, Le Farceur, Wasteland, The Seven Deadly Sins, 1962, The Fascist, 1961, The 4 Days of Naples. He was in Longest Day. He had a part in The Longest Day as well. Sweet and Sour, The Empty Canvas, The Stranger, 1967. The Case is Closed, forget about it. Chinese in Paris, The Slap, Portrait of a Woman Nude, Gandahar, My Mother's Castle, and Sentimental Destinies. And his last movie was Not Here to Be Loved in 2008. And he passed away at the age of 88. And it looks like what he's known best for is Tintin and the Golden Fleece. And it's a film first released in France on December 6, 1961, featuring characters from the Adventures of Tintin comic book series, written and drawn by the Belgian writer-artist Hergé. Sorry. It was a live-action film with actors made up to look like the characters and featured an original storyline, not based on any of the books. The film is set in Turkey and Greece with the main characters of Tintin and Captain Haddock searching for treasure after inheriting a ship called the Golden Fleece. The film was followed by a less successful sequel, Tintin and the Blue Oranges. It would seem Fulci had some resentment toward the Catholic Church because his wife, who died by suicide after being diagnosed with a terminal illness, was denied a proper Catholic burial as a result. Oh, that's an excellent, excellent point. And they do mention in the bonus features on the Blu-ray that, yeah, they do mention her suicide, but also the fact that his child also died in an automobile accident in the early 70s, and that would have fueled it even more. I don't remember if it was a son or a daughter. I got to double check that. Yes, his first film to gain significant notoriety in his native country, Don't Torture a Duckling, combined scathing social commentary with the director's trademark graphic violence. He had a Catholic upbringing and always referred to himself as a Catholic, despite the fact that some of his movies have been viewed as viewing very anti-Catholic sentiment. Several of Fulci's movies were released in America, were edited by the film distributor to ensure an R rating. Oh, he's always faced the wrath of censorship. Yeah, Fulci is no stranger to censorship, ladies and gentlemen. Others were released unrated in order to avoid an X rating, which would have restricted the film's target audiences to adults. The unrated film is often played worldwide in drive-ins and grindhouses, where they developed a cult following. And many of his horror films tend to contain, quote, injury to the eye sequences in which a character's eyeball is either pierced or pulled out of its socket, usually in lingering close-up detail. Yeah, he has that eye fetish. And here again, going back to Zombie 2, when that zombie came out of the ground and all the dirt, and you could see all the worms and everything, like, oh man, goes directly for the eye. Just goes directly for the eye, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, I really like Zombie 2. It's not my favorite zombie movie, but I do like it. I just think that, I don't know. It's kind of mid-tier for me, but I do like it. I do like it. But among his, basically, one more time, among the films I need to watch one more time are, probably A Lizard in a Woman's Skin, The Eroticist, City of the Living Dead, Black Cat, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery. Yeah, those are the ones left that I need to watch. That's what I'm saying. We're going to get another Lucio Fulci commentary somewhere down the line. I can't say exactly when, but we will do another one later. Probably on Zombie 2 when that comes around in 1979. But yeah, a daughter, yes. Yeah, his daughter sadly died in an automobile accident. So yeah, that obviously fueled his ability to deal with death on screen, and of course in such graphic ways. I mean, it really is sad. And here again, the differences between the city and the country, where, wow, they still do this stuff after all this time. Yeah, they've been doing this for centuries, man. Where have you been? I'm not a witch, Lieutenant. Uh, and see what's adding to the tragedy of this woman being hunted down, because now they're going after this woman, even though they don't have any proof that she was around, except of course when they find the dolls with the pins in them, then they figured, oh, maybe she did do this. So they literally hunt her down with a bunch of dogs. So devastating what this woman goes through. And here again, I mean, this is one of the most terrifying situations you could probably find yourself in. Remember, these are not the guys in Last House on the Left that are just out to, rape and pillage and murder and everything. No, these are people looking for a child murderer. And, now they begin to strongly suspect her. They literally surround her with dogs, preparing to rip her flesh out, rip her everything, just kill her, eat her up. And it's absolutely terrifying. I mean, I was wondering for a while. I mean, Lucio Fulci holds that shot for a long time. I was really worried that he was actually going to let the dogs get on her, but no. No. Her death is going to be a lot more elaborate than that. It's going to be, it's going to be a lot more difficult to watch too. And here again, mob mentality, revenge, burn the witch, burn the witch, burn the witch. Why do witches burn? Because they're made of wood? Good! Oh, yeah. And how do we know she's made of wood? Build a bridge out of her. And see, and here's the relationship that she had with these kids and everything. So, but did she really physically murder them? I knew in my heart that she didn't really murder them, that she all just happened to. I mean, she did go back into the sites and actually dug up she obviously knew where they were killed. I mean, but and she went back and she dug up the bones and everything. I couldn't. He was the devil's child. So this actress right here in the key role of La Maciera is Florinda Bolkan. Florinda Bolkan. She is a retired Brazilian actress and model. She was born in Uruburu, Tamama, and lived in Fortaleza and Rio de Janeiro until she moved to Italy. A former flight inspector for Brazilian international carrier Varig, she became fluent in English, Italian, and French. Moved to Italy in 1968 after being discovered by the film director Lucio Visconti, one of the most famous of Italian directors. She changed her name to Florinda Bolkan because she thought it would be more comfortable for international audiences. She acted with the Beatle Ringo Starr in her first film, Candy, and she worked in more than 40 films, mainly in Italy. She was directed by Vittorio De Sica in the Una Breve Vacanza. Under Illo Petri's direction, she made Investigation of a Citizen Above Suspicion. Enrico Maria Salerno directed her in Anonymio Veneziano. She worked with Jean-Louis Trintignant, John Cassavetes, and Annie Guerrero-Dot. Like Sophia Loren, Claudia Cardinale, and Monica Vitti, she also won the David D. Donatello Award 3 times, the Italian equivalent of the Academy Award, when De Sica cast her in Una Breve Vacanza, the film that introduced her to North America. He said, quote, "I chose you because your eyes have known hunger." She replied, "Those born in Sierra bring within themselves a strong and hard share of the real thing." And, he was right, because her face is prominent on the Don't Torture a Duckling ads, where she just looks like an insane person. And here she is, and this is all due to, psychological trauma. This is not due to the fact that she's, a witch, or that, that she's possessed or anything. This is all because of mental illness, which It's devastating. And she's going to be foaming at the mouth here in a minute. I mean, oh, sure, she's possessed by some kind of demon. No, 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 no. No, she had to deal with, being raped and abused and, tortured. I mean, had an exorcist done at one point. An exorcism, yeah. That's what I'm saying. She's been through a lot of shit. She's been through a lot of shit. More shit than nobody should have to go through all that. Yeah, like I said, this is just horrible. Oh, man. Well, wait until we watch Haxon later, because then you'll get an idea of all the torture that women went through in the Middle Ages. Good Lord. But like I said, it's my vote for the greatest silent horror film of all time, so we need to do it. We need to do it. Let's go ahead and start talking about the Blu-ray here. Now, I picked up this Blu-ray. I mean, I was torn on whether I wanted to do this commentary on, say, YouTube, but I thought, you know what? I mean, with Fulci and my lack of knowledge about gialli up until this point, I figured I need to pick up this Arrow Blu-ray, which came out in 2017. It's a high definition Blu-ray, 1080p, and standard definition DVD presentations. Yes, there is a Blu-ray as well as a DVD copy as well. And like I said, this comes from Arrow Video. And this is a Region 1 Blu-ray. You can play it in any Blu-ray here in North America. Original mono and Italian and English soundtracks, lossless on the Blu-ray disc. English subtitles for the Italian soundtrack. Optional English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing for the English soundtrack. New audio commentary by Troy Howard, the author of So Deadly, So Perverse, 50 Years of Italian Giallo Films. And let me say right now, this is one of the best commentaries I ever had the pleasure of listening to. He is lucid. He is delightful, a joy to listen to. He knows his giallo, that's for sure. He knows his giallo. He is probably the foremost expert on the subject. And I'll be perfectly honest, on top of all that, he declares Don't Torture a Duckling one of his 10 favorite movies of all time. That's how much, I mean, he is basically the #1 fan of Don't Torture a Duckling on this planet. And so I tell you, you get a wealth of information, a virtual encyclopedia of, everything in terms of giallo. Like this was really the first time I realized that, there's most films in giallo always center in big cities. Very few of them go out to these remote locations where, you're far away from any kind of, civilization. And, in case you have to get out, you're going to have to travel a long way, and you're going to have to deal with water and supplies and transportation, all that stuff. I mean, most films of that genre always stay in the city, but this is way out here in the middle of nowhere where, who knows? It's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But this commentary, from a true scholar, who, and like I said, a joy to listen to. I mean, I can't recommend enough. This is definitely one of the best commentaries I ever heard in my life. Next, we have Giallo alla Campagna, a new video discussion with Michael J. Coben, author of La Dolce Morte Vernacular Cinema and the Italian Giallo film. And he defines vernacular cinema as basically a bunch of films that are not really part of the same genre, but have like similar beats to them, and have, that basically have similarities to them. He's written a whole book on the subject. And like I said, I barely only listened to this stuff once, and I immediately want to go back and listen to it again, just because the extras on this Blu-ray are the highest possible quality. I mean, in terms of lighting, in terms of the interviews and how warm they are, how inviting they are. Same way with Tam Lin last night when I was doing that for Via Vision and everything. This Blu-ray is about as definitive as it gets for this for this, like I said, this underseen classic from Lucio Fulci. But we also have Hell is Already in Us, a new video essay by critic by Kat Ellinger, who is known for contributing for other physical medias of horror films as well. And she talks a lot about the misogyny that has been always been talked about in terms of Fulci. I mean, it seems like, after he died, half the people looked on him with hatred, and the other half looked on him with love and respect. And it's amazing when she talks about films like Don't Torture a Duckling, where women are screwed from the get-go almost. I mean, as soon as they're born, they got no chance to survive in this this male-dominated wilderness, and having to deal with these superstitions and these lies and these assumptions and everything, and be cast out and everything by society. And here now we reach this brutal yet brilliantly executed murder sequence. Well, not murder sequence, because she gets beaten within an inch of her life, and yet she still tries to fight in terms of getting some help. And it's an extraordinary, powerful sequence that is marked as soon as we see the very first wound. We know that we are definitely now in Lucio Fulci territory. Look at that. Look at that amazing makeup, which it feels painful. You could feel how painful that wound would be if it was on your hand. You seriously do. And she realizes she's in serious trouble. She's going to be violently attacked and left for dead by these townspeople who are convinced that she is responsible for the deaths of these boys without a trial, without evidence. But here again, we're dealing with a village that's dealing with a lot of hysteria, a lot of confusion, and here again, the investigation is moving on regardless. And you just, and we've been given enough information on her and her background. I mean, we opened up the movie with her, digging up the skeletons and everything. Like, oh, look at this. Yeah, look at this. This is some sensational gore and makeup. I mean, you could literally tell that they had in mind, okay, make sure it looks like a chain imprint in the stomach as we see blood and all that come out. It's going to be sensational. And yeah, this is just here again. I mean, the difference between this and Last House on the Left. I mean, Last House on the Left just feels like it feels like the men that attacked the women in that movie had no other concern than to let this death prolong as much as possible, and until they're satisfied, until they're because remember, they rape her as well. No, here these are just vengeance driven fathers who want to make sure that they get the right person, and that they're here again, they're the hysteria has clouded their judgments. And she is seriously beaten to a pulp here. And it seems like she has no chance of surviving this. And yet she is going to do everything. She's trying. See, her vision is muted and everything. Oh, this is just devastating. That final shot where he's leaving with the chain, it's just like, oh man. I mean, she just has to go and find somebody that will be able to help her. But as the gentleman on the commentary noted as well, she's going to be scarred and changed for life because of all these injuries if she were going to get out of it. But Her life is literally draining away, and it will do so for the next few minutes. And like I said, it's very hard to watch. Very, very devastating to watch. For those that are coming in, happy Halloween to everybody. Let me do a timestamp real quick. We are at 1 hour and 8 minutes. 1 hour and 8 minutes into Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. So going on about Florinda Bolkan, like Sophia Loren, Claudia Cardinale, and Monica Vitti, she also won the David D. Donatello Award 3 times. Okay, I already read that, didn't I? For 20 years, Bolkan was the life partner of Countess Marina Sicogagna, producer of Una Breve Vacanza. 2000, Bolkan debuted as a director in the Brazilian film E Noau Conquista Tururu. Besides directing, she also plays a major character in the film. She continues to act in European films, mostly Italian films. Model Sonia Ribeiro, Bolkan's sister, married Willie Bogner Jr. in 1972, the same year as Don't Torture a Duckling. Yes. So, yeah, she's 81 now. She's 81 and she's still working. Yeah. Yeah, her last film was only a couple years ago called Magari, which she plays Olga. International title being If Only. And she did some Italian television as well. And she also won the Los Angeles Film Critics Association Award for Best Actress for A Brief Vacation, Un Breve Vacanza, 1973 Italian melodrama directed by Vittorio De Sica. So another very famous Italian director. And if you notice the shot of the little girl going by in the car that Florinda Bolkan notices before she breathes her last breath, it was like a last flash of what could have been. You know, had she had grown up under born and grown up under much different circumstances, you know, she would have had a life full of, you know, happiness and friends and family and, you know, people that love her. And no, she just, you know, she was just treated horribly her entire life. And she's now dead. And as a result of, you know, she was innocent and they treated her like a witch. And so they killed her, you know, assuming that she was responsible. But in fact, she's not. Who broke your doll? What rascal did that? Yeah. And of course, here is, okay, now this actor right here, I haven't talked about him yet. But Tomas Milien on screen here. As the journalist in the town, is a Cuban-born actor and singer with American and Italian citizenship. Born in 1933 and passed in 2017 at the age of 84. He was known for the emotional intensity and humor that he brought to starring roles in European genre films. A student of Lee Strasberg, he studied method acting at the Actors Studio in New York. And in Italy, he was discovered by director Mauro Bolognini and appeared in supporting roles in several drama films during the late 1950s and early 1960s, including Bad Girls Don't Cry, and as Raphael and Carol Reed's The Agony and the Ecstasy. Carol Reed was the director of The Third Man, one of the great classics in history. Throughout the late 1960s and early 1970s, Milien established himself as a dynamic leading actor in a series of spaghetti westerns, most notably The Big Gun Down, Django Kill, If You Live, Shoot, as well as Sergio Corbucci's parody of the genre, The White, the Yellow, and the Black, from 1975. Dennis Hopper also cast Milien in his 1971 art house film, The Last Movie, which was his follow-up to Easy Rider. Following a decline in the popularity of spaghetti westerns, Milien transitioned to roles in Poliziesco films, which Lucio Fulci also directed a few of those. After receiving acclaim for his performance as a psychotic killer in Almost Human, he made appearances in Emergency Squad, The Tough Ones, and The Cynic, The Rat and the Fist. After returning to the United States in 1985, Milien continued to perform supporting roles in film productions, including JFK, 1991, Oliver Stone's JFK, Amistad, directed by Steven Spielberg, and The Lost City from 2005, which was produced, starring, and directed by Andy Garcia. Yeah, I was going to say, Lucio Fulci also directed a spaghetti western that I watched when I was going through his filmography, called Massacre Time. That came out in 1966, and it stars Franco Nero and George Hilton. Really, really good spaghetti western. And here again, I don't have, I probably have as much experience with spaghetti westerns as I do with giallo, but I mean, the truth of the matter is that was a really good spaghetti western. Yeah, the alternate title for that movie is also The Brute and the Beast. And Arrow Video also released that film alongside My Name is Pecos, Bandidos, and God Save to Cain as part of their Blu-ray box set, Vengeance Trails, 4 Classic Westerns, which came out in July of 2021. Okay. So I think we've talked about all the actors at this point. Did I finish Barbara Bouchet? I thought I still had some stuff to talk about with her, but well, in Casino Royale, Bouchet played the role of Miss Moneypenny. She guest starred in the Star Trek episode By Any Other Name and appeared in the musical film Sweet Charity. Yeah. She was in a film in 2021 as well, called Una Familia Montuosa. 79 years old, still with us, and still working. Tired of being typecast and unable to get starring roles in Hollywood, Bouchet moved to Italy in 1970 and began acting in Italian films such as Black Belly of the Tarantula, Amuck, The Man with Icy Eyes, The French Sex Murders, The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, and Sex with a Smile. Yeah, Sex with a Smile. Now, that basically leaves just one more actor to talk about, and that is the priest's mother, who is Irene Pappas, who I mentioned earlier in the commentary, passed away last month. Well, and as I said before, I'm dedicating this commentary to her. As we see the priest jump on his bike and go back into the woods there. Yep. We are 1 hour. We're coming up on 1 hour and 17 minutes. 1 hour and 17 minutes into Don't Torture a Duckling. When the film was released in 1972, it received only a limited release in Europe due to the film's themes, along which was the criticism of the Roman Catholic Church. It was released in France as La Longue Nuit de l'Exorcisme, The Long Night of Exorcism. Though an English language audio track was created for the movie in 1972, it was never theatrically released in the United States and remained unreleased until 1999, when Anchor Bay Entertainment released the film on DVD and VHS. Adrian Luther Smith's reference work lists the translation of the original Italian title as Don't Torture Donald Duck. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the original title of this movie was Don't Torture Donald Duck. Since in Italy, the cartoon character is referred to as Paperino. Yeah. But they, it ended up being Duckling, after the change, of course. But the image of Donald Duck in this movie remained in. It was not cut out. It was not edited out. because it's a pertinent clue in the case. What's funny is that the movie Clute, the great detective film Clute from 1971, Warner Brothers. Jane Fonda won the Oscar for that as a prostitute. But in the television version, they actually remove a whole scene for commercials where it's an important scene where Donald Sutherland needs it to solve the mystery. Well, anybody who watched Clute on TV would be super confused. Like, how the hell did he figure it out? Without that scene, it's impossible for Donald Sutherland to figure it out. Well, it's impossible to take out Donald Duck in this movie. Granted, we only see Donald Duck's face in a newspaper, and we also see the rest of the doll as it's being held by the little girl, which here again, it becomes a disturbing symbol. It becomes a very disturbing symbol for this entire movie in terms of, childhood and innocence and everything. And, how these boys, are barely reaching puberty and, they end up dead. Oh, rather fancy schmancy lighter there. Yeah. And I love how he shoots it by this creek here. It's a very beautiful shot. Very, very, very beautiful shot. I mean, for such a grim story, the cinematography in this movie is just, it's breathtaking. It's gorgeous. I mean, like I said, Lucio Fulci had money to work with this movie, and it really, really, really shows. The cinematography was done by courtesy of Sergio D'Offici. I can't say the Italian names, but okay. Okay, bear with me. Bear with me. I'm sorry. And among the screenwriters that helped Lucio Fulci with the script are Roberto Gianvitti and Gianfranco Clerici. Roberto Gianvitti had worked with he had worked on some of those James Bond spoofs as well, like Operation Poker, and he also worked with Fulci as well numerous times. But he was a writer on such things as like The Nephews of Zorro and Caprice Italian Style, Sheriff with the Gold, and he worked on How to Rob the Bank of Italy with Fulci, The Beckett Affair, Hercules versus the Giant Warriors, Seven Slaves Against Rome, Arms of the Avenger, Zorro and the Three Musketeers. Yeah, these are all real titles. Uh, the Overtaxed. Yeah, this is all stuff that he co-wrote. It's amazing. I mean, I love going out there. But he passed away in 2001. And the other writer, Gianfranco Clerici, was born in Italy. He was a writer, assistant director, but he worked on Cannibal Holocaust. We all remember that. Diodito's classic Mondo cannibal movie. But yeah, he actually worked on that. And he worked until 2007, but he is still with us. He also worked on Devilfish and Samoa, Weapons of Death, Emmanuel Around the World, Lunatics and Lovers, Innocence and Desire, Tarzan, The Wild Woman, Popeya's Hot Nights, Assault on the State Treasure, and Zorro the Rebel. So these guys both have written Zorro before, and now they're working on with Lucio Fulci on Don't Torture a Duckling. Mm. Mm. Excuse me. But yeah, the cinematographer was Sergio D'Offizi. And like I said, love that opening shot. And like I said, the third act, where we finally find out who's been murdering the children, and into the rocks and grass of the surrounding areas. Oh, it's just so the photography is so majestic and eye popping. I mean, I can't emphasize enough how gorgeous the cinematography is. And he is still alive. He was born in 1934. He was also the cinematographer on Cannibal Holocaust. How about that? Yeah, this is the sound of music compared to Cannibal Holocaust. I'm not kidding about that. I'm honestly not joking about that. That opening shot reminded me of the closing shot of The Sound of Music. It's that fucking gorgeous. He also shot The Washing Machine in 1993, Last Flight to Hell, Yuppies 2, Light Blast. Yeah, I know. When I saw these listed titles, I had to ring them off. The Squeeze, The Ripoff, Deported Women of the SS Special Section, and Summer Affair, Queens of Evil, FBI Francesco Bertolazzi Investigator, The Electric Chair, Devil in the Flesh, 1969's Devil in the Flesh, yeah, and Carnal Circuit. And his first movie that he shot was Whatever Happened to Baby Toto in 1964. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, the rest of the extras on the Blu-ray, because I forgot to go back to them, but the rest of the extras on the Blu-ray include Lucio Fulci Remembers, a 1988 audio interview with the film's co-writer and director, which is, you have to listen to it all in Italian. You do get subtitles, though. And the rest of the interviews are in Italian as well, but they're all wonderful. They're very long, but they're all wonderful. Interviews with actor Florinda Bolkan, who played, of course, the quote-unquote witch in this movie. Yeah, there's an interview with her. There's an interview with the cinematographer that I just talked about, assistant editor Bruno Micheli, and assistant makeup artist Maurizio Trani on the Blu-ray only. The reversible sleeve featuring original and newly composed artwork by Timothy Sorry, I am so sorry, Timothy. I can't. But just to look at the reversible artwork, yeah, there you go, right there. Isn't it awesome? And this is the artwork that was on the Blu-ray right there on the reversible side. So yeah, I mean, this is an awesome Blu-ray, and I'm so glad I took a chance on buying this because I do intend on watching all of these bonus features again. I do plan on listening to the commentary again and watching Don't Torture a Duckling again, because this is an amazing, amazing movie. And I love the clothes in particular in this scene. I love what she's wearing. I love what he's wearing. And there's the Donald Duck. There's the Donald Duck, the infamous shot on the newspaper of the Donald Duck head, which you'll probably never see in any other non-Disney film ever again. I love Irene Pappas. I saw her first in the Haley Mills Disney film Moon Spinners, which was set in Greece. Oh, Cliff, John Sairuga, who's my buddy on Twitter and comes in here from time to time. Moon Spinners is one of his all-time favorite movies, and he and I have a special love for those Haley Mills movies. Absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I'm waiting for Irene Pappas to come back on to talk about her because, there's quite a bit to talk about with her. Let's see. Timestamp real quick. We are 1 hour and 28 minutes. 1 hour and 28 minutes into Don't Torture a Duckling. And we have approximately 17 minutes left to go. So yeah, this is a deluxe Blu-ray edition, please pick up a copy. It is absolutely worth owning for Lucio Fulci fans. And it's gonna make me get more films by Lucio Fulci, to be perfectly honest. Particularly one on top of the other. That's one that I definitely need to get because I really love that one. Really loved it. But I also need to check out the eroticist and get this. You know what the alternative title for the eroticist is? The Senator Likes Women. Yep, that's a sex comedy directed by Lucio Fulci the same year as Don't Torture a Duckling. So yeah, busy year for him. Busy year. He actually did a third film as well. He did a movie called 3 Billions Without an Elevator, which he was only involved in the writing in. So, but he did direct One on Top of the Other in 1969, which I think is one of his best. And then as well as The Eroticist and Don't Torture a Duckling in 72. And I believe when it comes to Blu-ray, I think One on Top of the Other has an alternative title as well. Perversion Story, that's the name of it. Yeah, they put out a limited edition in 2018, courtesy of Mondo Macabro. But you can get an $18 edition now, which has plenty of extras. Plenty of extras. Oh, that's going to be a definite pickup. That's going to be a definite pickup. Yeah, it's got three long interviews. 3 long interviews. Just like this movie has plenty of interviews, except we also have a commentary and we also have some other good stuff. No booklets, which is fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. The reversible sleeve artwork is wonderful enough. Wonderful enough for this. Yeah. At IMDb, this has a rating of 7 out of 10. And looking at the reviews, there's about 100 reviews, and a lot of them are very positive. I mean, excellent mystery film from Lucio Fulci, an astonishing and daring giallo, a classic of its type. Ignorance, superstition, and children murders. Yep. My favorite Fulci film. Oh, yeah, and it should be noted, it absolutely should be noted, I can't believe it took me this long to mention it. This was, in fact, Lucio Fulci's favorite film. It's the one that he was the most proud of. It was the one that he kept on declaring to the press that this was his masterpiece. This is, in many ways, the most personal of all his movies. So this was a very important film in his filmography from that standpoint. And that's what I'm saying. If you're a Fulci fan, you have no excuse. I mean, this is a required viewing in his filmography. Genuinely good Fulci, an amazing Fulci film, the absolute proof that this director is a horror genius. You have to do it 13 times. Yep. See, you see masterpiece pop up a lot in these reviews. A lot in these reviews. An utterly brilliant giallo masterpiece. Fulci's tantalizing best. Deep mysteries inside the madness. A must-see for fans of the more out there gialli. Haunting, intriguing, and poetic. 10 out of 10. Excellent movie. Fulci at his best. This movie could not have been made before or after its time. Surprisingly good. Wow. One of Fulci's finest achievements. Giallo deluxe style. An engaging, straightforward giallo. Very impressive. Fulci does a brilliant job in ensuring very believable performances from everyone. Must see. Fulci's greatest achievement. Yeah. People at IMDb are pretty unanimous on this. They are absolutely very quite unanimous on Don't Torture a Duckling. Now, it's funny because when I did a little search earlier, I didn't see a lot of 50th anniversary retrospectives written this year. But I did come across this review. I did come across this Blu-ray review from 2017, which I wanted to read a portion of. Don't Torture a Duckling is a truly unique entry into the gialli subgenre. It represents a high point in Fulci's career in terms of production value and available financing. He was able to surround himself with professional and experienced crew members, as well as an extremely strong cast, and is certainly noticeable as one views the film. Tomas Milien was a hugely popular star of spaghetti westerns before moving into poliziatici as the 70s progressed. He is also a fine actor, though his part is relatively small in this outing. Florinda Bolkan was a relative newcomer to screen, but made a big splash in The Damned, directed by Lucio Visconti. Bravo Bouchet had come to prominence because of Casino Royale. And Mark Porel was a genre heartthrob who would go on to star in many other genre films before dying way too early at age 34. Now it's time. Yeah, I'm going to stop talking about that now. Now is the time to talk about the Greek actress and singer Irene Papas, who is right here. She was a Greek. She was in over 70 films in a career spanning more than 50 years. She gained international recognition through such popular award-winning films as The Guns of Navarone, Zorba the Greek, and Costa Gavras' Z. She was a powerful protagonist in films including The Trojan Women and Iphigenia. She played the title roles in Antigone and Electra in 1962. She had a fine singing voice on display in the 1968 recording of songs of Theodorakis. She won Best Actress awards at the Berlin International Film Festival for Antigone and from the National Board of Review for The Trojan Women. Her career awards included the Golden Arrow Award in 1993 at Hamptons International Film Festival. Yeah, here she is right here. And the Golden Lion Award in 2009 at the Venice Biennale. She began her acting career in Greece in a variety of traditional theater in plays by Ibsen, Shakespeare, and classical Greek tragedy. She continued to appear on stage from time to time, including New York City, in such productions as Dostoevsky's The Idiot. Very good book. She played in Iphigenia in Alice and Broadway's Circle in the Square Theater in 1968. She starred in Medea in 1973 on Broadway. Reviewing the production in the New York Times, drama critic Clyde Barnes described her as a, quote, very fine, controlled Medea, smoldering with a carefully dampened passion, constantly fierce. Theater critic Walter Kerr also praised her performance. Both saw in her portrayal what Barnes called an unrelenting determination and unwavering desire for justice. She appeared in the Bouchet in 1980 at Circle in the Square and Electra at the Ancient Theater of Epidaurus in 1985. Papas was discovered by Elia Kazan, yes, the director of On the Waterfront and Gentleman's Agreement and other films, was discovered by her in Greece, where she achieved widespread fame. Her first film work was a small part in Nikos Sisafaros' 1948's Fallen Angels. She began to attract attention with her role in Phrixos Iliadis' 1952 film Dead City. The film was shown at the Cannes Film Festival, where Papas was welcomed by the international press and photographed spending time with the wealthy Aga Khan. Greek filmmakers thought her a non-commercial actress, and she tried her hand abroad, signing with Lux Film in Italy, where the publicity for Dead City was enough to launch her as a film star. She played in Lux's 1954 films Attila and Theodora, Slave Empress, and it attracted Hollywood's attention. Many other films followed, both in Greece and internationally. Now, it should be noted that both of these actors during this fight scene really hated each other. And so, and many times throughout production, they would go to real blows. And this, in fact, was all pretty much real blows. But of course, Fulci wasn't going to allow a rock going to one of his actors' heads. Of course not. But Pappas became fluent in Italian, and many of her films were made in that language. She said Kokoyannis was the only director she was really comfortable with, describing herself as too obedient to stand up to other directors. She debuted in an American film with a bit part in the B movie The Man from Cairo in 1953. Her next American film was a much larger role as Jocasta Constantine alongside James Cagney in the Western tribute to A Bad Man. She then starred in films such as Guns of Navarone, Zorba the Greek, and in the Guns of Navarone, she stars as a resistance fighter involved in the action, in addition to Alistair MacLean's novel, providing a love interest and a strong female character. Gerasimus Katsan comments that she plays a hard-as-nails partisan in the Guns of Navarone. Bosley Crowther called her appearance in Zorba the Greek, dark and intense as the widow. Katzin said that she was not most often remembered as the sensual widow in Zorba, wrote that she was again contrasted to the other village women, playing the beautiful and tortured widow who was eventually hunted to death with what Veracitas Karanis called elemental nobility. The scholar of film Jefferson Hunter wrote that Pappas helped lift Zorba from being merely an exuberant film with the stark passion of her subplot role. The success did not earn her an easy life. She stated that she did not work for 2 years after her lecture, despite the prizes and the acclamation. And again, she was out of work for 18 months after Zorba. I know this death scene is pretty legendary. It might cause laughter, it might cause applause, to be perfectly honest, but it's certainly unforgettable. And I'm not so sure about the sparks. My reaction to the sparks, I mean, I actually like the flesh tearing off of the face as he's falling down the side of the cliff. But I don't know about the electrical sparks. That seemed off for me. But anyway, Pappas played leading roles in critically acclaimed films such as Z, where her political activist widow has been called indelible. She appeared as Catherine of Aragon in Anne of the Thousand Days, opposite Richard Burton and Genevieve Bujold in 1969. In 76, she starred in Muhammad, Messenger of God, about the origin of Islam. In 82, she appeared in The Lion of the Desert. One of her last film appearances was in Captain Corelli's Mandolin in 2001. Remember that with Nicolas Cage and Penelope Cruz. Yeah, that was her last movie. Yeah, where in Katzen's view, she was underused, reprising her strong peasant woman from the Guns of Navarone and the widow from Zorba. The Encyclopedia Italian described Pappas as a typical Mediterranean beauty with a lovely voice, both in singing and acting, greatly talented, and with an adventurous spirit. Wrote that she is best known and most recognizable Greek film star, an actor with incredible range, power, and subtlety, in the view of film critic Philip Kemp. From the opening shot of Electra as the proud, implacable face emerges from encroaching shadows, it becomes impossible to imagine anyone else as Euripides' heroine. Erect, immutably dignified, dark eyes burning fiercely beneath heavy black brows, Irene Pappas visibly embodies the sublimity of classical Greece, tragic yet serene. Now, we got the credits here, although we're not done with the movie yet. There's actually about 3 or 4 minutes with the movie, with the song that's going to play. And I know I haven't mentioned the song yet. The music in this film is wonderful as well. I mean, wonderful is the editing and the photography and anything else. But just to finish Irene Pappas real quick. In his book on Greek cinema, Mel Schuster called Pappas a great actress on the strength of her roles in 4 of Kokoyannis' films, including Zorba the Greek. He found her stage presence awe-inspiring, especially in Electra, and so powerful as to limit the film roles she could take, as she seemed to be an elemental force of nature. That resulted, Schuster stated, in Hollywood's treating her as a Mother Earth who suffered and survived, but rarely talked or acted. Now, just to do a timestamp real quick, we are 1 hour and 43 minutes. 1 hour and 43 minutes. We have approximately 2 minutes left to go. Yes, the song is still playing. But like I said, one more time, I'm dedicating this commentary to Irene Pappas, who passed away on September 14th, 2022. And you can read more about her online and everything. And just to close out talking about the song, which it was played prominently here on the soundtrack for Don't Torture a Duckling. The song is called Che Giorni Insieme a Te. And I know I bungled my Italian there. I got to learn Italian probably. But it's performed by Ornella Vanoni. It's a beautiful song with lyrics by Jaja Flastri and music by Reese Ortolani. And the singer was born on September 20th, 2nd, 1934 in Milan, still with us, 88 years old, still very much with us. And her music was used for the movie Ocean's 12, believe it or not. And she also played, she's also an actress. Her last film was actually last year, Seven Donna A on Mysterio, 2021. Yeah, she was with a huge ensemble cast in that movie. And other films that she's been in are What a Beautiful Surprise, Story of a Woman, Duel of the Titans, and Raguzzi del Jukebox, which sounds like one of those jukebox musicals that Fulci would have made in his early days. But yeah, a wonderful, lovely singer. And she wasn't in this film, but I'm sure that she made an impression in those other films as well. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my commentary for Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. And at 11:30, like I said, we're going to have my commentary for Haxan. I'm getting the link right now to share with all of you. Yeah, I just need about 30 to 40 minutes. I just need about 30 to 40 minutes, and we can go ahead and start Haxan. Oh, where's the link for it? Actually, I'll just do this then. Sorry. Bear with me. Bear with me. I mean, we got time. We got plenty of time, so there's no rush. But and like I said, this is a 100th anniversary commentary. We did do a 100th anniversary commentary earlier in the year for Nosferatu. And now we are doing the other huge horror movie of 1922, 100th anniversary, 1922. Yes, Haxan, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and here is the link for that commentary. All right, there you go. So anyway, I'm going to take a break for 30 and 40 minutes. There's a couple of things I need to do. But again, thank you so much for joining me tonight for Don't Torture a Duckling, directed by Lucio Fulci. I hope that you all strongly consider getting this Blu-ray, courtesy of Arrow. And, you know, great bonus features. The movie looks great, sounds beautiful, wonderful. I'm so happy I finally got the chance to watch Don't Torture a Duckling. Really. But at any rate, I will see you all very soon. I will leave this link up till probably about 11 p.m. And then, like I said, I'll see you on all over there for the Haxan commentary.